can even up this series. Rumble ban still going to come across nonetheless, even
through
with the nerfs. So a lot of top side focus to these bans as normal. Love that Aurora ban. So Weibo are coming into this game too saying one statement loudly. We want to make Flandre a bit uncomfortable with the champions he's relied on so much across this year. Especially the Aurora in Split 3, by the way.
Maybe an early Annie coming out here for Weibo. Something to look out for. As there have been no Yone plays for Xiaohu this split. As Ferris taken away. Banned away. Or say a champion that was being D1'd a couple patches ago, but since he got nerfed with the poke build, I do think the Varus has looked a lot weaker, actually.
A lot weaker.
As
it's a
that
weird
is the
time
Annie
to be
first
in.
pick. Yeah.
Varus being weak? I haven't. When have you said that in the last year and a half?
That's good. Though. It's new territory. I mean, we tried to make Rumble weak too, but we're still banning it. I really think you can play Orin to the Rumble and it's fine. It was already fine kind of before. A Rumble is still very strong as a champion, but I want to see teams create game plans into him. I think he's very punishable in side lanes too. Not given the case this game. Might see if that's the case next game. AL on the red side going to take one of Hope's best champions in the Kaisa Slayer, and definitely going to kind of force a decision out of Weibo here. Do you want to secure something like a Xayah Rakan or that sort of lane now into a Kaisa, or do you want to pick your jungle and find that Annie pairing, which is a little bit more common now? Speaking of which, Poppy off the table. Trundle is still up. Annie Trundle isn't the best pairing on the planet, but maybe something that AL should be wary of here, because again, Weibo have a real choice. Do you want to take an AD or take a jungler here? I think you have to lock down a pairing for Annie, or else that Annie pick goes down a lot in value for me.
I think Xin might just be the obvious one that screams out here. I think on the AL side,
if you go Xin, you get trundled. That's bad. So they can't do that one. Yeah.
I do think Vi value is screaming out here for Tarzan with the Galio and the Kaisa, right? So if you want some composition composure coming across, the Vi, I think, is a huge pick here. We'll see if Tarzan goes for it now, because I definitely expect it to be banned if they get into the second phase. That Lover's Duel, like you talked about, does come across. But it is harder to pick Vi into the Xayah now.
I really don't like how they didn't find an Annie pairing. Again, I think a lot of the power of Annie is Annie Wukong, because if you use the Annie to get the Wukong accelerated on a Trinity Force, he could just ruin the game from there. Annie is about, getting other picks set up out of the jungle. Annie is about providing the stuns to make sure that, your carry can carry, which Xayah can do. I mean, this isn't a bad game for Xayah, how it looks right now, but you're about to eat 2 more jungle bans, and a third when Tarzan likely blinds his jungle on 3 too. So he's going to take Trundle out of the pool. That starts to open up a lot more picks. I will say, with the Galio and Alistar showing, probably don't want to give away Trundle to Weibo, so that's understandable. Also don't want to blind it, as there are some really punishing counters you can answer. So I'm curious if he's setting up for Xin now, because now that Trundle's out of the pool, Xin skyrockets in priority for me, with Poppy already being off the table and Wukong too. So we're going to take away at least Galio. Jarvan with Xayah showing. I think that's a really smart ban, but if I'm AL, I don't touch Xin here. I probably just ban out another jungler that I'm not too interested in, and then just ask them to ban Xin.
Could also ban Xin, force them to ban Vi if you don't want to deal with the super dive threat this comp has already put together. Xiaohu also has loved to pull out the Sylas as one of his melee options. There's an Alistar on the board. I know that isn't like the end-all be-all to pick Alistar into Sylas, but
I like that Neferi ban a lot. That's one of the better combos with the Annie now too. I mean, Tian's I think the best option now for Weibo is to legitimately leave up the Vi Xin handshake, or Tian's gonna be looking for something like a Kiana. But Kiana in the game with Alistar Galio showing is not it.
Terrible.
So yeah, I'm not about it. They're gonna ban out the Xin Zhao, and now you don't have the handshake. You're asking to get Vide here.
Let's see if Tarzan wants to go for it. Has an endless champion pool, and already showed in this series that he's willing to give away a meta jungler to play something he likes more.
I'd like Nocturne. I think Zed. I actually think Zed's very playable this game.
That would be so fun. Oh, wow. Let's go. Tarzan Zed. We saw Tian play this against Ultra Prime. It was one of the things we saw from that series, is Tian was leaning more into those carry junglers against a weaker opponent.
I think he has to Kiana. I really think he kind of has to Kiana here.
There's
I don't know. Yeah,
oh, there's the Kiana. What a jungle matchup.
It's the best pairing left. A little bit of CC. The Renekton and Kiana will try to lock down the Zed. I think Renekton's pretty happy in this game. He will get counterpicked now, though, by Flandre. who, if he wants to use a Gnar game, it's not the best against Annie, but that's an option. Could also get creative and take a Sejuani here if you want. Instead, going to be the Ornn into the Renekton. So that's another tool where you can use to take away that Xayah ultimate. Really tough to kill Ornn as Qiyana Annie. So I like the scaling of AL. I feel like AL just kind of scales into this game again. The Zed, Kai'Sa take care of business later on. And if AL doesn't make the same, or doesn't make a lot of mistakes early on, they can play into it. Now, I think Zed was a bit of a risky pick. The ability for Weibo to play fast this game does very much exist. You got to use this Rakan, though, with the Qiyana and the Renekton to piggyback off of, and the Annie engages too. Kind of be a secondary engage. I think Rakan has some difficulties this game, going up against tanks specifically, because Rakan is going to be very bursty as a champion. I don't think Rakan has great targets this game. So I still don't love the draft for Weibo. I just think that Weibo, they're very much on a timer early, so want to focus in on Tian, onto Weibo, and see what can they get done early. Because if it's not a 2k gold lead and change at 15 minutes, then I'm probably going to be concerned about where Weibo's at in this game.
And if we learned anything from AL's approach to the early game in our opening match, they're more than willing to play patient, and they've doubled down on that idea with this composition. But I'm just so excited for this jungle matchup. We talked so much about we need to get more out of the bottom lanes. We talked about what top lane could look like, the mid lane, you know, how mirrored they are at the points of their careers. But these two teams, especially when they've looked good in the Rumble stage, have been driven by their on-point jungle play. And now they both take center stage, playing those newly patented assassins brought to the jungle. Boy, is it going to be a fun one, Cubby, and I know the crowd also wanted to get behind that as we hit the rift for Game 2. Loving the energy out of the crowd. Loving it for our first series here. It's really hard to tell which fans you want to give the win to. We see the classic solo queue algorithm actually kind of opposing our idea of this draft based off of those solo queue metrics.
That's fine. That I disagree with that bot more often than I agree. That's just standard practice at this point.
So Cubby, talk to, because we've seen so much like bruiser jungler, you know, playmaking junglers in the early stages. What does a Zed Qiyana jungle matchup look like for people who are not really accustomed to this hitting the LPL stage?
Okay, both these junglers, electrically fast clears. If Tian is on point on this Qiyana, depending on his setup, I mean, I expect to see like a 310 clear out of Qiyana or less. Zed also lightning fast. It mostly is about scaling up. Tarzan needs to scale up, whereas Tian can make plays early on. So I think a lot of it, though, like Tarzan, it's going to be very important for him to get 2 safe clears out of this. So I think that's the marker for him. Tian definitely has the ability to make plays early, especially with solo laners like Annie, like Renekton, that are going to be there to help him if he does show face in that lane.
And with how quickly these two junglers can not only just clear, but threaten for early kills, you know, if a jungle fight does break out. Glad you pointed out how much early power laning-wise both Breathe and Xiaohu are going to bring. So exercising that resolve, that patience is going to be key here. Maybe not on the bottom lane. That's flash out of light early. Hope's able to get a full plasma proc down on as well. They're using the heal. They have the lethal tempo going as well. Light's going to have to burn the barrier, but he can't step up because of that Kai'Sa passive, the threat of an execution looming. And that is 3 of the 4 summoners out of the Weibo bottom lane already.
I mean, this really is Hope on one of, if not his best champion. I think the only other champ I can think of that I would grant the honors of the Hope, you know, like that to Hope would be Jinx. But, again, more reason for concern. Just diving into this matchup in this lane. As Crisp and Light,
ooh, look at this swap.
Not able to get any sort of advantage. And, yeah, they're going to use that tank top laner versus the Bruiser and Renekton, actually. Sign up for a potential 1v2 early on. This could get funky. As we even have the Xayah Rakan being split on the reset. So Chris stuck around for level 3 and is going to walk straight back. Whereas We're going to have a level 2 Kaisa in a lane with Renekton. Weibo gets the news. They're already kind of jailed in the lanes they opted into. And that's just going to be Flandre TPing bot to enter the 1v2 as Ornn and do his best.
Again, buying more time. Shanks, though, going to look for a full trade here at the end. Doesn't have a lot of CC access to really punish Shanks here. So another game where we see a mid lane look early from Tian. Not really going to manifest most. Tarzan on the spot side going to be spotted on a ward on his own look. Again, classic to see these junglers off of their clears look for these ganks, but it means so much more knowing how assassin prone our junglers are going here as Tarzan is looking for a mid lane play here. The taunt's going to land on Xiaohu. Tian is right over the wall. So he's going to be able to match Tarzan. Just going to poke and prod with that living shadow.
I mean, that is a good chunk. That will stick onto the Annie, as Xiaohu did drop a TP to get back. It does have a small item advantage over Shanks with what's in the inventory, so I think that's a decent prank from Tarzan. Didn't really slow down his clear at all.
And Breathe needs help.
Yeah, both him and Tian will clean up. Breathe does need help. Both these top laners are at even CS right now, and this really benefits Ornn.
So much.
Yeah, Renekton, I mean, early on, if it is a 1v1, Renekton does get ahead early on, but only by a wave or two or a couple plates. Instead, switching up like this, Flandre has to be a lot happier, but has to deal with the dive.
Shanks is close by. They need to make this kill come across quickly.
He misplayed.
Yeah, Flandre just can't buy enough time with that cancellation coming across. That is exactly where you want the gold to go. Light picks up first blood, and Weibo off to the races, knowing how much they need to get done early and often.
I didn't see if Flandre had the W up to go unstoppable, but he tried to use the E while the Grand Entrance came in. That got canceled. Didn't find the knockup. I think it was the Bellowing Breath to just go unstoppable. Then E afterwards was probably the order of operations there for the best chance to get out of that one. So he does go down. That said, they have a frozen lane on this Renekton. And with him now basing, AL will kind of call the bluff. They do get the base to cancel. They'll call the bluff. They're going to get this wave in. And we'll see if AL decides to swap back. As with the lanes they have right now in these rotations, a TP coming out of Renekton. This can't be answered by Shanks. But we could see a look now for
I'm just going to walk back top.
Yeah. Because, I mean, Renekton just TP'd bots. You just get the 1v2 again.
And Cubby, it does always hurt to give up grubs.
No, it's
only
Drake
2 minutes
now.
out. Yeah, I don't think this is still fine for AL.
Yeah.
And the name of the game is stalling and taking away resources from Breathe. He's again going to be stuck in a very frozen wave state as Kael's going to grab the wave.
I think that the reason Tarzan actually tickled the dragon there is that was actually Weibo's like 1 wave timer to sneak it in. If Tian was on the dragon then and there, then that's the only wave where Renekton would like kind of have pusher advantage, and then we get to this scenario. As Shanks going to take a decent chunk. Little first strike money there for Tian as he cashes in. But, yeah, I know that might have looked a little bit goofy from Tarzan. I think that might have been the reasoning behind it, though. Just, you know, tickle the dragon, make sure it's not a clean start for Tian.
Oh, Breathe!
Okay, Breathe, it's tower shot.
Dominance has to be popped. He has to flash as well. Hope and Kael aren't going to chase after him, but that is going to be flash and Dominus off this Renekton. With grubs up in about a minute, we'll see how much Tarzan can punish Weibo knowing that information.
He doesn't have TP, too, so he's just going to lose out on this wave. And, yeah, I mean, if Tarzan were down here, it would probably be a dragon start. That said, he's cleaning up his top camps as he is continuing the full clear. Again, did mention how both these junglers really want to clear early. Zed especially really wants 2+ items. As we're expecting to see, you know, some iteration or version of Eclipse, Black Cleaver, Shojin, 2 of those first 3 items being built. Like with the Eclipse leading things off. But at the moment, I mean, I'm just so surprised that Weibo has really granted AL these lanes. Because like the power of Renekton into Ornn, if you don't cash in at all early, you just get Ornn later on. Like, you have no hope later.
Exactly.
And I think that with the TPs that they did show very early on, or that level 2, even from AL, like, they swap so early. And Weibo, it just feels like they've been behind ever since.
They are stronger at the grub pit. Kael had to burn his flash, getting a little bit too big for his britches on those wards. So there's the 3 grubs going over here. Should be Tarzan able to answer with a dragon of his own. They still have Breathe in this 1 versus 2. And again, he's even CS with the Ornn. but that's a huge win for AL. You talked about it. There's so much early predicated damage, so shutting down one of those outlets is going to provide dividends later on.
I mean, again, I think that this matchup for Renekton, he should be up 2 waves and a handful, like 2 or 3 plates, right? The fact that we're even in waves and
they're going after Flandre, though.
XP. I mean, Flandre, he can do this. Should be able to do it to the best of his abilities. Yep.
Oh, okay,
well
he does. Oh, he interrupts the Grand Entrance. This time, flash back towards the turret, but this is 4 versus 1, so he will die. Light picks up the second kill. What does anyone's legend get on the bot side for this?
I think burning the flash was too much, but if he cleaned up that entire wave and died, that was, I mean, that's perfect. He still got the wave. I mean, he delays him by 1 timer. It's the grubs for the Drake. Trade it out, as AL will opt out of the grub fight. You don't want to take a grub fight against Annie and Renekton, so they had a hope bot during that, just giving Weibo that timer. I think that Weibo gets that timer from what they drafted. Grubs, for me, that might be the strongest point of the game for this Weibo composition. I don't think that's an unreasonable argument to make with how much power they're showing early on versus AL. So they do have a 1K gold lead, but I mean, we did say that if it wasn't a 2K gold lead of 15 and change, then we'd be a bit worried for Weibo. And they haven't really, you know, broken this game yet. It only has been Flandre falling twice, but he is within a level of Renekton and is still in these 1v2s where he can kind of benefit and just kind of stymies this wave and can, you know, soak as much as he can.
Because it's all about levels with this Ornn. So Flandre getting all that solo XP is the biggest win here.
Yeah,
saw in the background that Tarzan was able to pick up that first dragon. He's on his way towards that first item as we do get to see that new Profane Hydra come online here for Tian. Think Tarzan will be able to match with his own first item, and this is where these very fun assassins start to really pop.
Yeah, Profane Hydra, guys, it is on this patch. You get 5 less AD, but it is a longsword cheaper. So they removed 10 AD of gold efficiency, but they only remove 5 AD. So it's just a more efficient, better item. Definitely a rush option for a champion like Kiana. She already deletes camps. Those camps will be deleted even faster, so we'll see Tian on the map. Tian has played the Kiana once. It was a win for Weibo. He played it very well. Tian is a known Kiana player.
Oh, Kael gets baited into an engage. Good charm comes across. Unbreakable will has to be used. Tarzan off towards the side. Looking to see
Shanks.
if he can use that shadow to get himself back in. There's display of talent juked out by Tarzan, but he gets caught by the blade collar. And feats of warfare go over towards Tian. Shanks is too late to the party.
Yeah, Tarzan, he didn't get the flash off. I think he had the flash out of the blade collar. Could not do it, and then Shanks was late. I was watching Shanks to see if he would join Tarzan on going in. They weren't able to sync up. And now, I mean, AL, I actually like the matchup that Weibo found here with the Annie into the Ornn, because Ornn has built straight armor, so can't really defend against Annie, and Annie can actually push Ornn around a little bit right now. So a good find of this side lane matchup for Weibo, as Xiaohu with the 3 grubs actually getting a little bit of work done down here, and Weibo getting a little bit more gold in the lead as it's 1.5K gold now.
Yeah, looking for Hope. Does he have enough burst here? Cleanse, Killer Instinct has to be used, and Hope is able to survive. But that is easy pickings for Tian on his patented Kiana that he's been so deadly in spurts on for Weibo, one of the pioneers of this champion as of late.
No one definitely. I mean, I think Tian. I always view Tian as a facilitator jungler. I think that he's at his best sometimes when he's dropping for his team, but also a deadly assassin player. He's got the Lee Sin hands too. I think sometimes a lot of people forget about that aspect of his game. Jungler with the World Championship under his belt for a reason, and still perennially competitive in this league at worst. So see what Tian can do with the dueling assassin picks here in the jungle. Still a slower game pace in this one. AL happier at the pace, but I do want to give Weibo credit. Said that they needed the 2K gold lead to change, and at the moment, it's a 2K gold lead. So they need this lead, again, because the AL will get too tanky later on. They get too tanky once you get to absorb the Kiana, absorb the Rakan, absorb the Annie, can get your spells off. I think that those later fights are beneficial for AL. But Weibo at I'd say a decent game state right now. This is not a bad or worrying spot for them quite yet.
How do we increase the pressure for Weibo here? Got to look at that Rift Herald in about 2 minutes, right? They've gotten the grubs. They've been able to stabilize these side lanes, mainly Breathe, who's been able to catch up and maybe surpass Flandre finally. Maybe just a couple hundred gold, but the spot he was in earlier was much worse off. start knocking down some of these structures. Because, like you talked about, AL want to go at a snail's pace here. And if you can open more of the map up, threaten early Barons, early Otacons, stuff like that, right in the wheelhouse of Weibo.
All right, folks, do want to try something out here. Big thing from last game was redemption diff at support. We have a redemption up versus a non-redemption. I think that based on the dragon timer you guys have on your screen, this probably should just be given over to Weibo. As I don't see a way that AL should really be able to contest this. As that's not a good start.
Out in the open here. He's not too tanky, but he's tanky enough to at least survive that full combo.
I will say, he got out of that. He has a TP, so that could just be a fight now without Tibbers. That's a pretty big condition for Weibo missing. And I think an unwarranted drop from Xiaohu, given that Flandre does have TP up and conditions can be okay. He's TPing back in, going to catch the wave. We'll see if they fight after the dragon.
Oh, they're going to look for the engage here. Quickness gets the charm, knock up onto 2. They're going to dump all the damage into Kael. Very tanky Alistar, flashes over the wall, still eats the stun, and now Breathe is going to make sure no one else from AL can try and save their support, but they've lost the dragon. Ornhorn's going to get a double knockup. Grace is pleading to display a talent, though. Tian pushes the Galio off of him, and the stun locks come across, and now the Croc is angry, looking to dish out the damage. Tian can't get the Living Shadow over the wall, and Weibo break this thing wide open.
EL did snipe the dragon away as Tarzan was able to take that, but yeah, that's a 4K gold lead. A big lead for Weibo is, again, the strength of AL. They weren't strong enough to fight that one yet, even with Tibbers missing and a couple of their conditions okay. And a very split fight at that, as Killer Instinct does get Hope out of there, but 2 towers do fall to Weibo, as they did get the 3 grubs. And Weibo, I mean, this is a very significant lead this game. And even with AL taking away that dragon, I don't think that contest was warranted, Slayer.
The caution, the patience that we always talk about with AL. Now you're getting to see more of what has plagued them in Split 3. You can call it maybe not respecting their opponents, not recognizing when they can fight. Whatever you want to call it, it's hurting them right now, and it definitely did this last fight.
And Tarzan has to flash away from the rip. He did die to that the first time. I think the follow-up, I mean, he did snipe the dragon away. That's pretty big. That is a great supreme display of talent from Tian. I think that just saved the fight straight up for Weibo, because from there, they're able to reset, find a front to back, and Breathe just too big at this point of the game on the Renekton compared to his counterpart. As AL just don't have the damage yet, and now Weibo have the wallets to back up their very fast composition. An Axiom Arc second for Kiana in this game, Slayer, as Tian wants all the supreme display talents available.
Over and over again. Talked about how critical the polymorph was for Kael in Game 1 to stifle the Weibo comp and Redemption. This time it really feels like that Kiana ultimate, with how much dive and low range AL brings, could be that sort of golden goose for Weibo's riches.
And gotta say, I mean, we kind of set up coming into this, Slayer, that we felt like the top side of Weibo, like, could answer AL. Like, you know, Tarzan's going to be higher in our All-Pro voting, but we thought that Tian was still had a decent split. I mean, Tian's still a world-class player. I do think that taking the Zed, when AL did, I mean, understanding Galio in the backline, you have some decent interactions with Xayah, I think, in particular, but playing Zed into Renekton, Kiana, and Rakan, I don't think this is as easy of an axe for Tarzan. And was this a game where you have a Galio Alistar? Like, was Tarzan maybe ready and willing to pull out or blind the Kiana? Or why wasn't it just a buy? Keep things simple, right, for AL. I feel like this pick could be, you know, warranted questions asked and could be a turning point in this series. As Chris secures the crab and Shanks misbreathe, he's in trouble.
Yeah, and he is going to get locked down with a couple of stuns. Hero's Interest going to get him out, though. Good to wait across both the W and stun lock from that Annie, but it's just to survive here. AL really have to commit to this stall game. I do think one thing that's going to buy them a lot of time here, you called it out, sniping that dragon early. The fact they've been able to pick up 2 Drakes is going to be big, and they're going to try and look for overload picks here on to Breathe, who is just getting a little bit too nosy with these wave states, and Shanks is going to grab that kill. So AL is finally on the board, but look at the quick response here from Weibo. They've got Grubs, they've got Herald, and they're looking to grab more turrets to knock down. They need to be wary. They're down a man without one of their big team fight threats here. They're going to be able to exercise caution until the switch is pulled, and man, look at the damage that Tian and Xiaohu bring. Just like that, a 3-piece for Weibo, and they're not exercising any caution anymore. The fisticuffs are off for WBG.
Yeah, caution should not be a word in the vocabulary of Weibo if they're trying to play this comp into what AL has, and it's good they've thrown that one out because Tian on this Kiana is stepping up. He's been huge this game. As him and Xiaohu are able to sync up, they find the double kill, take another inner turret, and continue to build this lead up for Weibo.
Just when you thought AL were starting to creep their way back in, it's the damage of this Weibo comp that really
even
flourishes.
that play for Renekton, right? Like, I think that if you're going to trade out Renekton to get that bounty and only lose in inner turrets to the Herald, it's okay. But to try and continue that fight, that's a mistake from AL. They lose a second inner turret for that, and that's another expensive mistake. As, again, AL, like, they have scaling options in this game. They can bounce back in, but this is a pretty short-range composition where they took a lot of tankiness and not a lot of damage, and if you are this far behind, you're going to have no damage to your name, even with where Hope's at in this game. So, going to be on Hope to find that miracle carry. Definitely a lot of tools and utility to get AL back in. Good news for them, they did take 2 dragons, so did buy themselves 10 minutes of scaling there, but I don't think Soul is going to be a win condition here for Weibo. They might have the gold to end this one early, as I just think that they force Otacon once they get lanes decent. Their lanes could be decent on this wave if Breathe catches this one high, which he will.
Got 2 items on the Kaisa. But the Ornn, the tanks is the main thing, right? Ornn is not tanky enough by this point. Galio for Shanks, nowhere near that mark. You don't have ornaments coming across to start fighting back at that gold deficit. I mean, as rough as it sounds, do you have to give Otacon? Because I feel like losing Otacon in a fight behind it gets rid of any morsel of hope you have for this scaling comp.
See, Slayer, as someone that has been a big connoisseur of global League of Legends this time of year, this is the best time to be a League of Legends fan all year, guys. Let's make that straight. I know Worlds is a blast. Personally, I like seeing the race to Worlds as the teams globally compete to try and make it there. We get a lot more gameplay going on at this time of year. I've been watching a lot of Otacon decide games. As sometimes teams are starting it, don't have the damage to get through. Sometimes Otacon damage, yes, it's still a lot. It's still very significant. It's been tough for teams to figure out and manage at times. If I'm AL, I'm letting Weibo start this thing, and I go from there afterwards. But at least let them hit the Otacon first. See if that resistance shred can maybe bend the tides in your favor just for one fight to get back in.
Ooh. That is
still going to be tough, though.
Some pretty big damage.
Did they find Xiaohu?
In Flandre. Xiaohu going to drop the hammer onto Kael. Unbreakable Will barely keeping him alive. He's going to flash away, but he is as good as done and dusted. There goes Crisp into the back line. Fortunately, the hero's entrance out of Shanks to protect his carries. Otacon, still the big-time attention here for Weibo, but their health bars are starting to hurt. There's one tank down for AL, so how do they get themselves back in here? They're trying to play the poke method
can't
here.
Get in.
They don't have tools. Shadow.
Yeah, I don't know how Hope gets in.
I don't know how he does either. Tarzan after Living Shadow out. Supreme Designated Talent only hits Flandre, though, and Crisp is very low. ALC angle to go in, but the Galio taunt isn't enough. They steal the Otacon away, though. Tarzan gets that big buff out, goes for the death mark, will go down. It's only Flandre to survive and try and thrive as he runs away. But have AL bop themselves more time, stealing away another precious objective.
I mean, they'll take it. It's still a lost fight. The gold deficit doesn't look great, but that's a lot of experience you're able to pick up. I will say, flowers-wise, not great. It's only 15 flowers total. That's not a lot of gold value. You're still at a deficit versus Weibo. Both teams did sack a lot of waves to try and get to that state. So, I mean, the permanent buff you're asking for now is that buff if you are able to somehow get any takedowns in this game as AL. Yeah, I mean, Kael dies very soon. I think the oopsie from this, from the Weibo perspective, is that Otacon did reset. I think it's the chase up here. When they chased up in the Shanks and Hope, like they're asking for a split fight. I just think they took a little bit too much damage from the Otacon, then they let AL link up again. Because this flash from Light's necessary. I mean, it's good, but he's kind of out of the fight from here. And it did buy enough space for Tarzan to actually link back up and have a position to steal the Otacon. Trying to attack Shanks and Tarzan to make sure the Zed can't get in, but I think that mistake actually bought too much time to actually relink back up with AL. But still a winning fight for Weibo, still a really big gold lead. The side is very far ahead, but Breathe is being hunted. Tarzan Ult in 2, 1.
There he goes. Deathmark down.
DP's down.
Dominance out. They've got the redemption as well. TP coming across. Deathmark doesn't do enough damage to the exhaust, but no. Breathe survives. Xiaohu TP's in, but so does Shanks. Gonna look for one of those big taunts. Killer Instinct forward. They do get Breathe, but can they get out? Because the flank is in. Crisp is coming after Kael, and they stun up Hope. The Kai'Sa's locked up and shut down. Heroes Entrance gonna get one member out, but there's a no fight left in AL. They've been routed by their own flank.
They can pick up most of the waves. It's still okay. They can drop this dragon, and Weibo is playing away from the Baron. So I think Flandre is going to get mid in. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a... We're going to see like how many waves get picked up and deleted here. I think Weibo are going to win out a little bit on this play, but honestly, in the end, it's going to be a bit of a nothing burger because it's objective bounties being traded at this point for AL. Oh, actually, bounties fell off. Wow, they're down 8k gold, and bounties fell off. That's a rough life. That's rough.
Don't know how they make this fight work with just Tarzan. There's just not enough damage without this Kaisa around. And, well, Weibo know it.
Oh, no.
TPing right on top of Shanks' head. Stuns land. See you later, Shanks. Pack your bags back towards the Death Realm.
Yeah, I don't know what the game plan was for AL there either. I kind of ended up being, I guess, a TP used for only 1 kill. And then they dropped bot wave to make sure they can contest a Baron if that's the case, but it was a Weibo reset, so just more resources lost for AL. But AK gold deficit still at the end of all of it, so I guess no real progress made besides maybe a little bit of time burned and saved for AL. Kind of a big nothing burger in the end.
The one thing is with this stall, Flandre's at level 14, so the gold lead is going to start becoming a bit more fake in the sense that Kraken Slayer's been upgraded here for Hope, who again is, pun intended, the last hope for AL's comp to really survive and thrive. Is getting this Kaisa to those big item breakpoints. Third item, I believe that's going to likely be a Terminus coming across here, just to get more of those resistances off the Renekton and try and play to get as many autos down, which I do like this sort of Kaisa in this composition. I think if you have enough protections for the Kiana, you want to get as many autos down as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, Tian's almost level 16. Like, he's a camp away from that, and Tarzan doesn't have access to 14 yet. This could be a really big advantage for Weibo if this fight breaks out. Renekton holding the line. They know they're starting this. Shanks will be the one to get vision, but yeah, they saw him back off, and as long as AL can kind of play this back and forth game and soak waves, that's, again, time bought for them, and this lead not growing. I think the lead might be too big for AL to overcome or surmount at the moment. They need to buy a lot of time around this Baron. 2 Mountain Dragons also going to make it even harder for a comp that's already somewhat low damage to get through. He's going to look for Shanks here. Shanks gets spotty senses to sniff that one out as full control for Weibo, but...
they're hitting it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like the guessing game. One door is your demise. The other one is all the spoils and riches you desire, AL. Can't pick the wrong one, though. They are stalling. They are collecting more waves. What does it manifest into? Tarzan still desperately needs these levels. Like you called out, Tian nearly has that level 3 supreme display of talent. He's starting to get really worried about where he can even walk in his own jungle. That's flash off of Tarzan. His breathe pops over the wall. Kael next to step up into Tian. Ornhorn from Flandre. All disengaged here. They're just trying to distract Weibo.
Okay. Interesting. I don't think Zed Flash is, like, Omega useful. He does need a lot of his tools and shadows in this one. They're going to get Unbreakable Will. If they can disengage from that, I think that's a really nice takeaway from Weibo. Now we're at the point where Weibo can think about this one, because I think Kael is in that point of support where you've tried to play this game for so long that you're out of wards and you're out of an ult and a lot of health now.
All right, this is a little weird. Tian's going for a camp here as they engage onto Flandre, but he has to flash out, and boy, is he just not tanky enough. Light cuts him down to size. And with a wave dancer in the mid lane, this should finally be the Purple Worm slain by Weibo.
Gonna be a long way to get in.
They've got Tarzan, Deathmark. He's gonna try to use Livy Shout and dash around. He's got the Moss Shield, but Breathe slices him across with his Croc's blade. Hope, though, able to get the Lethal Temple going. He is taken down, but how does Hope get into this fight? There's a no way in, only one way out, and it's the Death Realm and a gray screen. Ace over to Weibo, and they're not gonna even need the Baron to try and lock this one up, but they're gonna take it nonetheless.
They just wipe a fight. They need to get Tian a little bit more health before they can start the Baron. It might be a little bit dicey for them to do it. Flandre has no TP to get in. They're low. They should get it.
Fine.
Yeah, it's fine. They got it. Yeah, Annie's here. There's the shield. All right, we're good. All right, Weibo. It's been a good game from Weibo. I mean, they took a lot of early game, and I think that as AL, we just have to be a little bit perplexed maybe at the Zed-Ornn pick. It just feels like they picked a little bit too slow.
Oh, nice flash.
Definitely signed up to give away a pretty fast comp to Weibo. And Weibo have run with it and have done well. I mean, this has been... We've seen AL have attempts at stalling. Like, they've tried to do a few things from behind, but we haven't seen them be close to successful yet. Off a good play from Weibo, just... I think using a lot of their strengths, it's been a much better game from Xiaohu on the Annie this time around, Slayer. I think that some of the Talia combos or entrances he had in game 1, a couple of whiffs in there. The Annie has been on point in this game.
19 of 21 KP. What we wanted, what we prescribed as the doctors to treat the Weibo ailments. Get Xiaohu on his comfortable enabling control mages and let the guy cook. He's giving you a gourmet meal if you're a Weibo fan in game 2. Now it's time to call for the check and get out of dodge into game 3 here. The first step, knocking the base open. First turret going to go down here. Tarzan not moving a muscle just yet. He's going to try and get some more waves in, claim some of these objective bounties, but this back may be coming in through too late here. Snap engage. Oh, cancel out the Warhorn there from Chris, but I don't know if that was a good choice here. He's going to die under the Nexus turrets. 1 for nothing. Turret for a kill. AL, they've been in this space before. 5 versus 4. Hope's going to go forward with the killer instinct. Breathe is going to go for the dominance, gets the stun layered, and the supreme display of talent is exactly as the name marks it. Tian has been the supreme player on the map here for Weibo, and he's going to look to dust off this game himself with a massive triple kill. First blow goes to AL, but Weibo get back up and knock AL down to size. We are evened up 1 apiece in our series.
Big game across the board for the Weebs as they take the early game comp and smash the game. Man, that was a really one-sided game looking back kind of for Weibo there, Slayer.
Yeah, AL were as stunned as you are right now.
It froze me, quite literally.
Friend. Yeah, completely froze you up. AL, you know, as much as we gave credence to the scaling threat that was AL, if they could buy more time, when we talk about what makes these two teams most powerful and what we saw in game 1, I get wary when AL want to lean into a stall game because this is what they open the door to. AL in the game 1 were best when they were tormenting from the early minutes, taking control of mid-game, never looking back. AL, right now, they are just not as comfortable playing slow. And that's what I think cost them many games in Split 3. That's what I think.
Honestly, I'm just going to sign that one up to, I think something that AL got right a lot in the last split or prior splits was they were one of the better teams that could play and draft on red side. That wasn't a good red side player draft. Like, I think the Zed-Ornn ended up just being too slow. We went into that game being like, hey, Annie Renekton with Kiana, like, are we arguing maybe for 3 winning lanes for Weibo? It definitely felt that way. I think some of the swaps they had were good. And while the approach from AL, I mean, I like the idea of having the Ornn versus Renekton matchup and finding 1v2s. I think that actually gets your side laners out of the scenarios that are bad in the 1v1 and the 2v2 into good scenarios in the 1v2 and the 2v1. I think that's smart from AL. I don't mind that approach, but yeah, there's just not enough gas in the tank. I really feel like they needed a Vi or just a guaranteed go button to set up that Galio or just have better engages. Because how many ults did we see where those grand entrances or the heroic entrance was a heroic exit? It felt like Shanks had to use that ult to get out more often than to actually look for plays.
It's just so cool that across both of these two games, we've seen these one critical thing that we recognize can really cause problems for the other side in both of these wins, and it manifests. That is big, especially for Weibo, a team that we put under the microscope maybe as much as anyone else of our group Ascend teams. Game 1, again, I talked about it earlier. You pointed out Kael Lulu, the polymorph. It needs to play a big role. It did for AL. This game, the Kiana, that supreme display of talent, was just impeccable every single time from Tian. It's cool to see that both these teams have been able to use that one sort of power card to give them pivotal wins here. And now we go into a best of 3 with 20 champions off the board and a lot of very comfort-oriented picks at that.
Yeah, and hey, props to Weibo. I think that Tian, I mean, he played the Kiana on a previous patch, but with Profane Hydra being buffed, took advantage of that too on this one. And we said early on in draft, like, if you do go for the Zyre Rakan, you're dropping a lot of jungle pairings for Annie. Like, we like the Neferi ban. We were worried about that Xin Zhao coming through once AO banned the Trundle, which I thought was smart. But having that Kiana, like, more and more picks you could, like, find and pair with Annie. I mean, what happened to that fight around the Raptor pit? The Tibbers came down, Supreme Display of Talent came out, and a double screen came on in the bottom right part of my screen. It was in favor of Weibo. So, yeah, it was pretty sound when they were actually able to put things together.
It's just good. It's good to see them also rebound from, like you talked about, the 1v2 swaps, making Bree's life hell. But they stuck to their guns, and they played through Tian, who, for all of our markers, Cubby, this split when Weibo have been on, it's really been Tian. And the cool part is, you talked about, he's such a great facilitating jungler, and that's what he's been in Weibo's biggest moments. But now, we talked about in the Ultra Prime series too, I'm really a fan of Tian, you know, saying, screw it, I'll do it myself in some of these games. Picking the Kiana, leaning into the Zed. We saw a Neferi game out of him. If we get more of that out of Tian, we might see a form of Weibo that we haven't been accustomed to in a long while.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the team where you look at these players, they are perennially competing at Worlds at a high level. I mean, they're competing to play in international finals, and to have them be a 5 seed, I think in a way, I mean, we feel more strongly about AL being a good team, just given what they've been able to accomplish in these 2 splits. But it's summer, man. It's time for push to come to shove. It's time for Xiaohu to show up and be the beast that he has always been in the LPL, and to be one of the final bosses you have to get through if you want to actually go compete internationally. It feels like you always have to get through Xiaohu if you want to do that. Haven't felt the same strength from Weibo throughout the year. Opportunity in split 3, last opportunity to make your mark for this year. See if Weibo can keep up the good play. They had the Blitz game plan for this one, and went pretty well, even in spite of a couple of objective yoinks from Tarzan. So, at least for Weibo, we'll see if they can continue to stick with this aggression, or if they just have another good cohesive plan. Because I know that this was a different game plan for Game 1 versus Game 2, but Game 1 was just not cohesive. This game was very cohesive. So wondering what they need to get another game where they look like this, because we have seen Weibo fluctuate a lot in terms of their form. And this is the team that we can sometimes see show up on the Rift. Then we can also see the team we saw in Game 1. And then every game we get a moment like this from Chris, because, you know, it's got it. LPL support moment, you know?
Yeah, you got to get that one missing ping play of the game, for sure.
Yeah.
Right? It has to come across here from Chris. And as we talk more, again, about this series going forward, Weibo, they have already played a best of 5, but it didn't really feel like it because they were able to 3-0. Up against Ultra Prime, so we didn't really get to have a ton of convos about champion pool and worries there. As the series now is going at least 4, right? I do favor the champion pools of AL. I think there are a lot more question marks, especially in solo lanes, for Breathe and Xiaohu to really lean on as the series goes on. And I'm curious what they've cooked up draft-wise to maybe protect those solo lanes.
Yeah, I mean, Xiaohu has really been on facilitator duty, plus like some Victor Azir. A lot of those, a lot of those facilitator champions are already gone. So we'll see. He's already down the Rise Silas, and that's about it. So yeah, we'll see what kind of impact it has on Weibo. And we'll say, like, when it comes to the pool, as easy MVP for Tian. We have talked about how, like, we feel the top pools are different. ADs and jungles and like mid might prioritize some different stuff, but overly pretty much like similar. And then support is pretty much the same. So we're kind of looking to see like where the priorities or overlap is. I know for this next one, I mean, I want to start talking about the Xin Zhao and the Trundle being up, because I think those are 2 junglers that are really powerful that we're likely to see be highly contested. But we can save that for the next draft, Slayer. We'll see where things get started. I assume we're going to see AL on blue side, and we'll go from there for Game 3.
We will go there indeed, as we have a hot topic series in front of us now. One apiece. Weibo and anyone's legend. That means that the stakes only grow higher in our upper bracket matchup. Once we return from break, we will go into that Game 3 draft. We'll see you guys on the other side to see who can find the next edge in our series.